Hey everyone, it's Sleepless Skies here, and today I'm going to do a track walkthrough of my track Running. Bit of an old one, made this one a couple of years ago, but had a request from one of my commenters. I love it when I get comments, by the way. Please do comment on all the videos and let me know what you think. My commenter is Scarab9, who said he loves running and wanted to hear a walkthrough of it. So your wish is my command, Scarab9. Let's jump into running. So we've got the project file up here. We can start to hear a little bit of this track if I just start playing. We've got kind of an intro. Some nice sort of organic sounding shakers. Then we get a little break. Lovely vocal here. It's from sample pack from Zara Thomas. Really beautiful voice.
And you're driving me crazy.
Right, and then we get this kind of build up. You can hear some overtones on the bass coming in and just kind of making it more interesting. And then we've got another break with the vocal. A drop. And then we see out the track. Yeah, so you get the idea. Right, there's a kind of little sparkly bits, isn't there? So, full disclaimer, this track was made a couple of years ago now, and obviously since then I've like updated my whole laptop system. I've got an M1 Mac, everything's on VST3. So when I opened this project up, like I've upgraded to Ableton 12. When I opened this project up, like half the plugins weren't working and stuff like that. So I had to, unfortunately none of the instruments were broken because I've always just used Diva pretty much consistently on everything. So that was all in place, but there's some things like compressors and stuff like that I've just had to change and update. So it's pretty close to the original project, as close as I'm likely to get. So let's do a quick walkthrough. And it's kind of interesting as well to go like, how have things changed in my production approach? Because if I close these down, we'll get a sense for it. In fact, let me just do it, see if I can do all this in one go. Yeah, so get a sense for structure here. All right, so the way I was structuring tracks back when I made this, I had a kind of a mids, what I was calling mids sections. So that was all of this kind of. Hang on, that's all right. Yeah, that's it there. Yeah, that's confusing. I had everything grouped into a bus, and then I had this actual channel called mid bus, which I was then sending everything to, like almost like the old school bus approach that you would do before we had groups in Ableton. I don't know. I think I must have seen that on some tutorial and just done it, but I wouldn't do that anymore. I just use the group function as the bus. And I think putting all of this together, we can jump into the sections in a sec, but like my one thought is like adding all of this together. What it means is that like all of my components, the lead components and the kind of background components, so you've got stuff like the lead, which is here, right? That is all wrapped up with all of this kind of like droney stuff, which I'm guessing is like, there's that, yeah, like this sort of stuff here. And it just means that you can hear it's sort of struggling a little bit for depth, because it's like, which of these is the priority? I want to basically process these signals quite differently, whether it's a lead element or a background element. So that would be in my initial thought there. I probably wouldn't do it that way anymore. Well, I don't do it that way anymore. I split out my lead elements and process them separately. Then we got into drums. Again, we've got this like drum bus group here. Quite dry sounding drums, but that's okay because that's kind of the style. This style of melodic house that often has quite dry sounding drums. Yeah, they're pretty nice. They're not the most exciting drum pattern in the world, but it's fine. I like that. I like that shaker. That's cool. Might use that again actually. It's a nice one. That's looks like it's a PML one, production music live. All right, so we can jump into more detail there. The next section we've got is a low end, or what I'm calling kick bass here, which is basically, as you would imagine, it's the kick in the bass. Like that, Tom. That's really nice. See, it's got quite a lot of groove, actually, that bottom end. I think, on reflection, that the drums aren't necessarily helping that groove come out. It'd be nice for something else in the drums to have that kind of same sort of boom, 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 boom. That's what it feels like it wants to do. Anyway, so that's what you've got there. You've got basses. Oh, and you've got, is anything happening in this? Yeah, that's not on. This is just some sort of, like some, oh yeah, it's like some sort of hissings and effects and stuff like that. This is actually kind of cool. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on effects. I'll just say this while we're in this section. This is an aerosol can noise, which I've put through some EQ, a bit of Haas effect, and some sidechain, and some, just added a bit of, I think it's just got some reverb, reverb on return channel, and in using it here as a way to do a build up, it's just got this kind of graininess to it that white noise doesn't have. It's just quite nice. It's quite cool. Right. What goes into then the other final bit up the top here is pianos. So this is an interesting, with this piano, obviously using, as always, Labs Soft Piano. Updated the UI of this recently, it looks really nice. Labs Soft Piano going into an effect rack with Crystallizer on it, and that is giving you those kind of little grains and trills. It's really nice. I actually don't do that enough. I'm going to use that again. Those little things in the if I turn it off, it's a bit boring now. So then we've got a LA2A compressor on it for a bit of gentle compression, and just that plugin is it's on quite a lot of these. It's just a meter, so it's a nice visual meter. Okay, what's in this mid bus then? So there's a bunch of vocal effects and things like that. They're just samples with loads of reverb on. Don't need to spend a lot of time on those. Vocal processing, quite a simple basic processing chain here. I've got a chorus on it for, let me see that. Bit of chorus for some depth. A gate, just to make sure that because it's a sample, just to make sure that we're not introducing any artifacts from the sample itself. It's a very nicely recorded sample, though. I have to say it's good quality. Then I've got an addition of Nectar. This is one of the ones I had to update because it had an old version of Nectar on it, which I no longer use. But quite simple bit of EQing just to kind of cut out some areas, some notes that we don't want. The de-essing, and then some compression here. So the initial compression here, just a bit of gentle compression, very low attack, slow release. This is just really smoothing everything out so we don't get sort of big volume modulations, and then it's just adding a little bit of, we're just adding a little bit of EQ afterwards because that had a bit of dynamic EQ just to maximize it a little bit. We've also got the auto levels on as well, which really helps in Nectar to kind of make sure that we keep our vocal consistent all the way through. You can do a lot of that using Nectar's AI. This is a great plugin. It is a bit expensive, but if you for things like vocals, it can really help to have high quality plugins to use because you want your vocals to really stand out and be lovely. And
keep on running and running,
so if you see that there, it just elevates it, lifts it. Now, there's more you could do with this vocal. For example, one of the things I'm doing a lot recently is if I duplicate that quickly, I can probably do a quick bodge of this. Just I won't spend a lot of time on it. But if I take, where is it? Fresh Air, which is a free plugin from Stephen Slate. Thank you, Stephen. EQ8. Let's put an EQ8 here just to kind of get. I just want to basically carve a load of the bottom end out of this. So
you keep on running and running and running and running.
ooh. And then I'm going to get everyone's favorite free plugin, Valhalla Supermassive. It's a bit mad. Oh, listen to that.
And you're driving me crazy.
Mix it back in with the original. And you hear how you suddenly get this lovely tail of noise of just, it's just floaty.
And running
And you really, all you want is that hissiness on the top. And that's just with a bit of EQ, Fresh Air, and Supermassive. All free. Right. Let's get rid of it because I didn't do that in the original. I should have done that in the original, but I didn't. So there you go. What else have I got in here then? That's just a piece of the vocal. As a stab. This is the main arpeggiated riff that runs through the whole thing. So we've got, what have we got down here? Arpeggiator, which is giving us the arp. We've got an edition of Diva, which has a preset in it called HS Brachiosaur, which I've adapted quite a bit, made it a lot shorter and tighter and messed with it. But I think that's in the Dream Synth plugins that you get with Diva. Bit of OTT, just to give it some sparkle on the top. Bit of Decapitator, bit of Echo Boy. So that, a lot of the effect of that is actually coming from Echo Boy with his Echoplex style. So you get this kind of wide shaking and shuddering. It's really nice. Bit of Auto Pan just to give it some very gentle movement, EQing it, top and bottom out, soothe to make sure we're removing any harshness. That's just working like that. A little bit of gentle cutting. Filter, which you can hear at work there. So if I... So that's allowing us to kind of do the whole thing where it's kind of moving in and out of sections and giving the whole track a bit more kind of movement. Some compression just to get rid of some of those high peaks. This sort of little compression all the way through really helps when you're coming to do your master. If anything, I could probably get a bit more of that down. Tack is a bit harsh. Maybe like 1 or 2 milliseconds. And that's just going to cut some of those really high peaks off without sacrificing any volume. And that's going to really help us when we get to the point of summing up into our mix bus and our master bus, because we haven't got all those peaks to fight with our limiter. Okay, bit of utility on there and some side chaining. Fine, that's what's going into that. And so that runs all the way through, and it's just a decay that's being automated and the filter here that's being automated that gives it movement. All right, so there's a low arc. What's that? Yeah, there's a low version of it there that comes in the second.
Driving, driving, driving.
That just gives it a bit more depth. I think I wanted to like punch it through to the end, like to give it a little bit more. Okay, we're going somewhere. We've got this lead. The lead is a diva again with a preset from Ting Engelhart's. I've used this preset a lot. Keys 08 from his PML pack, and it's really nice. It's got a real kind of sort of fizzy feel to it. I've added some LFO to that to kind of give it that kind of warpy effect. And that you can do that quite easily here, I think. Yeah, it's just that knob. Just add a bit of LFO and it runs it through this LFO modulator. Bit of EQ, cut out some of the harsh frequencies, some delay, simple delay just to give it some space. And then a bit of crystallizer on that. Just to give it more interest. It's making it more, just adding little layers to make the sound more interesting. Auto filter for some filtering effects. Soothe to cut out harsh frequency. There you go. Job done on that lead. What else have I got in here that was worth looking at? Chords. I'm not going to unfreeze that because I have a feeling it's frozen in order to preserve CPU or something. So I'm just going to, but all you need to see there is it's basically just Diva with a preset called Brachiosaur. Brachiosaur is a really nice, just a very gentle, nice big pad. It's one of the free presets that comes with Diva. I use it quite a bit as a starting point for really kind of nice, full, warm pads. And then you've got some saturation on it. That's it. What's this? Ooh, okay. This is a high, like a high pad. It follows the melody here. And it is a textural pad from Labs called Fern. So it's from their Textural Pads pack. Really nice pack that actually. It's got all these interesting pads that have things like birdsong and stuff in them. Some EQ, some chorus, some soothe for harshness reduction, and a bit of side chaining. And that just fills up the top end. It's a really nice way to just match the chord progression with some nice pads. And then you've got these kind of like little bits of noise. This is coming from Arcade, which is the plugin from Output. It's Log Me Out because I'm not a subscriber at the moment, but this is their Aura pack. Arcade's really cool, and actually I might resubscribe because I miss the kind of these sorts of cool effects. This Aura line is brilliant for this kind of stuff. Okay, that's all your melodic elements. Then in our drums, simple drum bus, bit of saturation. I would usually do this a bit differently these days. I would tend to do it as, I've done it in kind of serial here. I would tend to do this in parallel. So have this as a wet signal and then have it in parallel with a dry signal. But you know, it's a similar effect. Got a standard little hi-hat going. It's actually a shaker, that I think. Sounds like a shaker anyway. Got some little shaker loops. That's the one I said I liked. Got these are I don't think these are the most interesting drums in the world. The one thing I think is kind of missing here is like it doesn't feel like it has a lot of smack. I wonder if I can help that along by doing exactly what I just said here. And going into, so this is now created a parallel chain. Go full wet, push that up a bit more. and then take it down. So then I want to just make sure I'm not just adding volume, because that can deceive you. So So that's currently coming in at 16.15. What happens when I switch this on? Let's just take that compressor off for the time being. So that's at 11. Yeah, 14.4. Gonna add that 10.9. So we're adding about 4 dBs of gain there. So let's. I mean, there are multiple ways to do this. You could do this. You can actually do this in the effect rack itself. But I'm just going to put that there and take it down. I quite like to do it with the utility just because it's visual. I can see that I've done it. I can see it in front of me when I look at the channel. So yeah, so we're down to 14.8. Perfect. Then we'll add that back in. I think that already sounds a bit better. So that's it before. No, that's it now. That's nice difference. No additional volume added. It's not making it louder, just making it punchier. And then you could do the same thing with a clipper or a limiter. Like if I get a limiter and put that on here, take that down to -15. Could add a little bit of gain there. Which again, not getting any more volume, but I'm just making it sound louder. Immediately sounds better. Immediately sounds better. These are all really kind of nice tips you can do to just get your drums sounding a bit punchier now. Much better. Okay, what have we got in this then, in the kick and bass? Oh yeah, people were talking to me. I'll come back to levels at the end because people were asking about levels, like what are the levels like on my track. So I'll show you all that right at the end here. Let's just look quickly at what's in these first. So this is the intro. I've got like a bass down here, which is just a nice little stab. Tim Emengerhart bass. Nothing too complex about that. The kick is a combination of a little hi-hat helping it along. So it's like a see there? Check the velocities. The front beat is louder than the second beat. So it's got this kind of helps accentuate the beat of the kick. And then this kick itself is, just get this up here, sample called Lane 8 kick. I have no idea if it actually comes from Lane 8, but it was just in a sample pack I got. Shortened it a little bit, just so it doesn't interfere with the bass. That's an EQ that I'm using as a filter. And then it's got some EQ on it. Now, if I was doing this now, I would go there. Yeah. You might even take that off. I think that kick now. See how much boxiness it is in that? That'll sound better already. Yeah. Cool. See, making improvements as we go along. And then finally, we've got this bass group, which is a few basses together. It's like just a deep sub, a layer above that, think you need that, but you know, it seemed to be adding some depth. I liked it, so I kept it in. The growl, which I've just completely EQ'd away so that it's not interfering with the sub ends. And then this top whine. So these are all, that's the sub is hip hop sub bass. That's a cool preset. Comes with Ableton, by the way, if you want just a really deep sub. Got two of those. The growl is a bass preset called Voltage, which I think came from an Audio Tent pack. It's a nice growly preset. And then this is one from PML's Tim Engelhardt bass pack. I must have got this. I must have made this track about the time I got that pack, because it's lots of Tim Engelhardt in this, which is ironic because this is a track that he would definitely not make. But there you go. And then so that's what's making that whiny noise. And actually, the processing all this is pretty simple, just EQ compression. If I was doing this now, I would have a lot more kind of saturation on these. Like, saturation really helps to help bass cut through. There's also really cool plugin. If I go to MIDI effects, I think it is. Where is it? Which one is it? No, it's here. Pedal. A little bit of that can really help cut through. Can just help the bass cut through the top of the mix. Okay, just giving it a little bit more grit. So that can be quite a nice little thing to add in. Okay, so that's it. That's what goes into it instrumentally. It's pretty simple, actually. There's not that many elements. I think there's probably too few elements. I think if I was doing this again, it's like at this here, this needs more here. Like, I'd like to hear some big strings, maybe a big counter melody coming over the top, or something, you know, I don't know. I won't sing it. I won't destroy your earbuds. You see that? You could make a lot more out of that. That feels like it's quite... If I stretch that out a bit. What happens if I put Supermassive on it? Should be the answer. Should be the kind of question we're asking about everything. Well, it's better. So you see little things like that can just start to add in. But I think it could do with some more layers here, to be honest with you. So let's switch off Supermassive so it doesn't go on forever. Fine. Let's look at levels. So if we just group stuff together just to keep things a bit neater here. So first of all, let's just delete these tracks at the end, because otherwise it starts to get very hard to look at. I get confused if there's too many things in front of me. So effectively, if I play this, I'm gonna have to open it out, because this is the downside with doing these buses instead of. So it's just something going into that. What's going into that? Yeah, that needs to go into mid bus. Right, so let's just look at it individually. This is peaking at about 19. Oh, actually, it's there 17.5, 17. Then this is peaking at about minus 15. We put the limiter on that, right? So we know that. So that's a couple of dB louder drums, which is what you'd want really. And then your bass, my bass here, is peaking at minus 14, right? So you got minus 14, minus 15, minus 17. So that is creating quite a nice even spread. If I bring up, where's, to get rid of span, didn't I? Because it was the old version. Let's put a new version of span on there. Now, what you could say is maybe a bit too much sub. No, it's not bad actually. But that's pretty good, like, as a spread. You might have some space to possibly bring some of these middle elements up. That's the only thing you could say. They might be a bit... No, you might... No, that might not want to be more. Feels like that's in like a box. Like it needs to be broader or something. Like needs to have some reverb on it or something like that, I think. But yeah, some of these middle elements. Yeah, see that fills it out a bit more. So yeah, you can see though that the levels wise, we're talking about like really a couple of dB, like the kick and the bass and the kick itself. The kick itself is like the loudest element in the mix. Kick and the bass together, getting up to that 13.8. Drums a dB or maybe 1 or 2 dB quieter, and then the mid's probably a little quieter after that, like a few dB after that. And that's a pretty good balance. I mean, look, there's no rules, obviously, right? It has to sound good. That's what matters. But that is a pretty good sort of balancing act for your different instruments. And within... I think that the challenging thing about this track is that this is what's kind of carrying the track as a lead element, but it's a bit repetitive. That lead has to stand out. What I've called lead doesn't actually play very much. Maybe it needs to be a bit louder when it does. Maybe a bit more interesting. Yeah. You get the idea. So, just sort of, in case you're interested, I was running all that into very simple mastering chain. This is like a quick master check. It's not a mastering chain. It's like a checker that I mix into it. So it's like an EQ with the bottom cut off, some glue compression, just cutting a dB off, and then a limiter, just to give me a sense of what it'll be like mastered. So that's it. That's what went into running. I hope that was interesting. It was actually fascinating for me to kind of go through and see like what changes I'd make if I was doing this today, how I would do it differently. Maybe one day I'll do a proper remix of it all together, but I hope you enjoyed that. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment on the video, tell me what you want to see next. I'll happily do another video of a different track if that's what you want to see. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.